Bruce Willis, Dillon are back again for another film. Man, they've been putting in work. Let's jump into my review of the new film, Wire Room. What's up, folks, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're going to be reviewing the film Wire Room, which is going to be available on demand, digital, and in theaters September 2nd. Again, we're on a Bruce Willis retirement tour. Bruce Willis has been putting in work before he decided to hang it up, and here we are back with another film of his alongside of, it's got to be his buddy at this point, Dillon, who's also been putting in work here. Now, a couple of things with this film. If you've seen some of Kevin's recent films, A Day to Die, Hot Seat, this is a mixture of the two, and you get Wire Room. And when I say it's the mixture of the two, I mean it's all sorts of different things. I think the production, both in terms of practical effects and stunts and post work, all of the post effects and visuals and all the things they've done, like I don't think no guns ever discharged on set. I think everything's done post. For sure I know in this film, but I think the other films as well too. So like you get the same feel that you've got in those other films. So if you like those, you would certainly love these. And I also think that these films aren't really super plot heavy. There are some twists in this one, but like I think it's a lot about that action, a lot about just a film that you could just enjoy. It's entertainment, you know. You get invested into the characters slightly, but you're more invested into just the action. You want to hear the banter between our protagonists. You want our villain to be big and bad, you know, that got a slick way about how they act, which the villain in this I think is really dope, which we'll talk about it in a second. But I should nod that Oliver Trevena does a fantastic job as our villain. I don't know, as I said, there's twists, so who's to tell who's who? There is a lot of I don't know who to trust in this film, to be honest, like seriously. But nonetheless, this film, I think, again, if you've loved those other films where, you know, like it's an independent film, you're not getting top-notch production, you know, you're not getting over-the-top practical effects, you're getting all that post work in terms of ADR and all sorts of maybe CGI and whatnot to make it work. It is what it is. You're not supposed to go into this film trying to wear like the biggest critic hat ever. This is just entertainment, and again, it's on Bruce Willis retirement tour, and as he puts on another, I think, a spectacular performance in terms of just being that action star, you know, giving those amazing one-liners. I think Kevin is bouncing off of his character really well, and so on. It just works that way. And also, we'll say that Texas Battles in this film, who also provides an extra layer of, like, you know, banter that just makes the dialogue really just gives you a chuckle, or you know something's about to go down by how they're talking to one another. Like, I just love the different dynamics from within this film. And I think, again, it has a lot to do with like low expectations. Just have fun, and then you consume it in a way that's just really enjoyable. Like, that's really my take on this film. But nonetheless, you have Justin, who is a former Secret Service agent, now working for the Department of Homeland Security, where he will be an agent who is running the Wire Room. Now, in this, because he's new recruit, first day on the job, but his resume is pretty lengthy, so he's respected. You know, he happens to, so first of all, he has to monitor a member of the cartel, Eddie. And in monitoring this person, you know, there's a code. You always want to keep your contact alive, especially because of what this guy knows. But he notices that he's also being attacked, and he's trying to do what he can to help this person by surveillance survive a home invasion and all sorts of different things, a threat towards his life, because they need him. They need Eddie, who's played by Oliver, because Eddie has a list of all dirty cops. Bingo. If they're able to get that list, they're able to, you know, separate the good guys from the bad guys internally and externally. So yeah, you can't have this guy die knowing how much information, how at this point, essentially priceless, this knowledge that he has, and so on. So he's happened to help the bad guy survive in order to obtain this information and so on. So there's that. First of all, couple of things with this film. Oliver as the villain is completely solid. Like, he does a really good job. And I think that once his presence gets on set, it just really takes the film to the next level. Also think, in terms of Bruce Willis, I also think that because this cast, a majority of this cast has worked with him previously, considering we know the state of Bruce's health, I think they keep him very protected. But also, I don't think he looks like he's like taking a slight role in this. He's limited for sure, but I think he still makes a huge presence in the scenes that he's in, so nonetheless, I think like they really worked around Bruce really well, and I think the folks obviously have worked with him really compliment him in the scenes they have to compliment him. Talking to Kevin in the interview, he also kind of gave me a scoop in terms of how they filmed this, and I have to say, like, that knowledge even makes me appreciate this film even more, because with it being like a limited cast, a small set, sometimes folks are on set by themselves while the filming is happening and kind of happen to kind of throw dialogue off the wall, even though they're actually talking to somebody. I gotta say, like, it still made the film production feel very, very fluent. For limited resources, limited funding, I felt like the film was definitely very fluent in terms of like how a lot of these scenes worked. And so, I enjoy it for that. But nonetheless, it is interesting because I got to keep Eddie alive, because he has a list of dirty cops who works for the cartel. Tell me if you haven't heard that story before. And with that being said, like, he, it's a code. And that code is something that, Justin lives by. He has a code of honor, and no matter what the scenario is, he has to do his job. And I also think there's a little bit of a redemption story with him, because we kind of see him really put his morals in the forefront, but we actually don't know why he's not in Secret Service no more. So there's a little bit of an issue as to why he sort of got demoted, and he's taking this sort of office job, vice versa, the man that Secret Service is. So you're a little bit not sure if you actually buy into him, but you do see this character truly try to put his ethics and his morals on the forefront in order to survive his first day on the job, which is a crazy day. So, I gotta say, another thing with this film is that it doesn't truly feel like a film to me. It does feel like an extended episode of a television series, because like once the whole conflict is over, they're pretty much like, well, the day's over, let's go home. And so it definitely makes you think like, well, I wonder what's next. Like, what's going to happen on the next episode? Like, it just was just kind of like, yep, threat's over, let's go. But yeah, there is definitely some blood splatter, CGI. I definitely don't think there was no gun discharging, so that's obviously been ADR'd in. And then they always, especially in these films, they always use some form of technology to add an extra layer of like filming, either looking through cameras in terms of like surveillance. They didn't use drones in this, but that's what I mean. Like, they're just not using standard cameras. They're using all sorts of other technological techniques in order to kind of make things, give it more of a three-dimensional feel instead of it just being a multi-camera set. So, but the score, definitely is very, very not common, very much on par with the previous films. Very action-packed, very climactic. Really helps the film move. But like I said, if you love the other films, you will love this. You're not getting over-the-top, big-budget action, non-stop, etc., etc. You're just getting a very, very minimum action feel that just really. You can say like the actors do what they do, very entertaining, and I think that again, you don't truly invest into the characters too much. You only invest into like the action that it supplies. And with Bruce presence on scene, he's must watch, and the banter and people working against him and around him, it just makes the film work. And it's a very short film. I think it's only like an hour and like 15 or 20 minutes, something like that. 97 minutes exactly as I look on it. So yeah, definitely, if you love the other films, check it out. If you don't, I still think it's worth a watch. I think it's definitely, again, as we see, you know, Bruce makes his, who knows when, but as we see him on his farewell tour, you know, you want to pay respect to one of the most legendary action actors of all time, in Bruce Willis, and with his name being on it, of course you're gonna check it out. And I think you have to see what he does in this one as well too. So yep, check out War Room, again, in theaters, on demand, digital, September 2nd. After that, jump in the comments, let me know your thoughts about the film, and as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon.
Big old bell.